Y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You were made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is going to be so great, and that is partly because of our amazing sponsor, Executive Help Now, your premier partner for private equity funds and portfolio companies, delivering operational excellence through embedded virtual teams, cutting-edge technology, and deep industry expertise that scales with your ambition. From streamlining operations and managing your back office to producing amazing podcast shows and keeping everything organized, our team is here to help you thrive. So if you're ready to make your life just a little bit easier, hit us up at www.executivehelpnow.org. Y'all, today's guest is nothing short of absolute pure genius. His name is Leonard Fom, and he is a seasoned finance and change professional with over 20 years of experience working with global multinational companies like Mastercard, HSBC, Johnson & Johnson, and the Big Four consulting firms. He's known as the Chief Value Officer. He has a proven record of building teams, scaling businesses, and transforming operations through strategy, finance, leadership, and data analytics. One of Leonard's career highlights includes leading a £400 million divestment carve-out to create Sainsbury Bank. He is also the founder of FinOps Squad, a fast-growing creative fractional CFO agency helping startups, scale-ups, and SMEs grow with purpose. FinOps Squad is redefining finance by humanizing it, blending creativity, culture, and community to build lasting value. Y'all, put your hands together for Leonard Fom.
Thank you, Renee. Renee, what an introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to be on your show today. And thank you for inviting me. I'm pumped. I'm really pumped. So I'm glad I'm here.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited to share with our audience just a little bit about you, because when we met, first of all, I'm going to tell everybody how we met. So last week, the Atlanta Black Chamber here in Atlanta, Georgia, hosted an event called the Go Global Conference. And it was a conference that brought together a delegation from so many different countries around the world to talk about doing business worldwide, not just in the United States, but if you want to do business in other places in the world, that was the place to be, to meet people who are in all different aspects of global businesses, whether it is capital to build your business, making entry, making connections to the people that you need to know in other parts of countries, logistics and distribution, all the things. And it was absolutely incredible. And that is where you and I met. I think we were just standing around waiting for our matches that we wanted to connect with, because they had a wonderful program of actually intentionally creating opportunities for you to speak to people. And we were just waiting for our people. So while we were waiting around, we just hit up a conversation. And it was just really great. The more you talked about your business and what you do and how you do what you do and the difference that you're making in your community with your business, I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, he would make such an amazing guest on the show.
I'm humbled. Thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled. I really am. But,
absolutely. And so one of the things I would love, as we get started, I would love to learn more about your backstory, because you said that FinOps Squad was birthed out of your own experiences, things that you went through in your life, trying to get where you want to go and filling that gap that was necessary. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, even before FinOps, before the big four, before all the big companies?
Wow.
Like, did you go to school thinking you were going to be helping business owners?
Do you know what? Thanks for giving me the opportunity to explain my journey. So my journey, so I'm of Nigerian descent. My parents are Nigerian, and I grew up in the UK. So I was born in Nigeria, grew up in the UK. And a lot of my drive to go into business came from my parents. They were very entrepreneurial. Raising 4 boys from Nigeria, you know, my parents had to work multiple jobs. And I knew my dad was very, very entrepreneurial. I knew he had like 3 or 4 jobs. We barely saw him, but he was always doing a lot of things. And one thing he did do well was he was an accountant. And so that was sort of my beginning into accounting and finance. So initially, I didn't think I was going to actually go into finance. I actually loved airplanes. I wanted to be a pilot, really. But you know, that was the start. But in terms of getting there, you know, it was hard to sort of break into that space. I had no role models. I knew no one in that industry. So it naturally defaulted to what did I want to do when I got into college. And so what I did was follow my dad's footstep. I thought, okay, let me go into accountancy. So I studied accountancy in my degree. And from there, I just had a drive to go into business. Now, I didn't know where I would get to. I think the natural route was get a good job, hopefully land a good job in a nice, steady business, and then just go up the ranks, you know, progress from, you know, finance assistant, finance manager, etc., and hopefully hit the top in terms of being a CFO one day within a big organization. But your question about sort of why and how FinOps Squad came about was mainly, I'd say, 3 things. It came from pain, which led to a purpose, and now it's a passion. So those 3 things were kind of key to me driving into FinOps Squad. And the pain, I can break that down a little bit more. So I came into the corporate world. I was very ambitious, you know, from the get-go, and I always wanted to do more than my peers. Not because I was competing against them, it was just naturally I was very curious. So one of my first breaks to really do well was within a company called URS Corporation. It was a consultancy business, a US business that actually brought a UK smaller business. And they had ambitions to expand across the UK. And so what I'd done when I started the company, I was assistant finance manager, I think at the time. I used to just get in early because I was super, super curious. And I thought, let me start speaking to the finance controller, and, you know, and they knew that I wanted to do more. So they kept on throwing things at my way, and I kept on over delivering. So much so that I started to build all these creative board packs and data and insights for the business. And at one point, the finance controller pulled me aside and he said to me, actually, you're outgrowing the company. um, I actually think, and it was really nice. He said, I actually think you should try and find somewhere else, not in about, but I'm going to put a good reference in, and I think you should try and get into banking.
Oh,
And that's how I broke into banking.
wow.
And
Wow,
then,
that's amazing.
yeah. And then from there, I went into banking, and again, same sort of mindset. I was very passionate about how do I make a difference within the teams that I was in.
Mm,
And so another story I found was, or that I could share is, I was really keen to be different, stand
mm,
out as a finance person. And I'll be like, okay, we're creating a lot of reports. And I spent a lot of time in Excel, but I realized that actually the reports that we were creating, the customers that we were serving, were they actually using our reports? So
mm,
I went out to the heads of functions, and I remember going to a data center head of function at Lloyd's Banking Group. And I said to him, look, this is a 50-page document. Are you actually using it? And he
mm,
was like, parts of it, but not all of it. And so I said, okay, what can I do to help you understand your business better? And we designed a dashboard report that was really useful for him.
mm,
And then we shrunk that down to 8 pages, but it was very clear cut, and he needed that to sort of help his business go forward. So I designed that, and then word spread amongst his peers because they were like, wow, who's this Leonard? And I managed to get onto tables of all these heads of functions within the bank
mm,
at the time. And yeah, I got a name for myself. Now, the pain came when I realized it was time for bonuses and pay,
mm.
and so I remember the finance director coming down to my table, and he gave me a bottle of Moet and a handwritten note saying, Leonard, what you've been doing over the last sort of 2 years is incredible. Like, I love your passion, I love your hunger, we'll promote you, etc. But when I got my pay rise and I saw my paycheck, I was like, this isn't much. Like, but compared to my peers who were
Mm,
coming in with Porsches, and I'm like, hang on a
mm,
minute, like it's not
mm.
making sense. It's not
Yeah,
making sense.
yeah, that ain't equal.
Yes, exactly. So that was my frustration. There was something not right, and that pain then led to other things. But I can share more later on. I don't know if you want me to go on, but that's
Well,
part of my pain.
I want to, first of all, touch on a couple of things that I think are so key and so critical. One of the things that I think is so important to recognize is your own internal intestinal fortitude and drive to be successful, and your hunger for curiosity, to understand and to know. And so it's not like you come from a place of wanting to, even though you want to be better, it's not because you want to compete. You just want to challenge yourself to be your absolute best, like you're your own competition. Does that make sense?
That's
That's
correct.
that's what I got from what I heard you saying. And I think that that is so important, that as we're building a business, there's competitors in our industries. And it's good to know who's doing what so that we can know how to stand out or be different or be innovative or creative, and to separate ourselves and differentiate ourselves. But they are not the measuring stick for who we are and what we're supposed to accomplish. And so I think when we as business owners look at ourselves as our own competition, we then have a better perspective and framework from which to work to drive us to do better and to be the absolute best. So would you agree with that? Am I kind of getting
No,
what you were putting down?
you nailed it, because I didn't tell you my side story is my passion for basketball.
Mm,
And so, when I grew up, it was 1992, the Olympics, when the dream team came to Barcelona in
mm,
Spain. Just before that, I started to play basketball. So probably around 11 years old. I had a friend actually who came from Chicago,
Hmm.
His dad taught basketball at our local community center. And so he
Mm.
used to take us along, me and my brothers, to play basketball, and I fell in love with the game.
Mm.
Now, when I say I fell in love with the game, I played that game every single day. I used to dribble the ball everywhere. I used to compete non-stop around London. People know me up till today, who I am. And that was where I got that drive, that sense of continuous improvement. How can I
Mm.
get better with my jump shot? How can I get better with my handles? How can I get better as a teammate? How can I get so I love the game and I love sports, and actually that's what shaped my personality and my drive. And I take that same um, mindset into everything I do in terms of business, family. I'm a father of children, so I always want to try and improve and get better. And that competition is me against myself. And
Right.
so you're absolutely right when you said that. Actually, I compete against me. That's what I do.
Yes, awesome. And I think that's just a good mindset for business owners and entrepreneurs to have, is how can you be your absolute best in everything, whether it's in your operations, it's in your customer service, whether it's in how you execute or how you deliver, all of these things, you're competing against yourself to be the absolute best. And I love that. And one of the things that you also mentioned in the very beginning is the importance of the people that you were working with seeing something in you and
Mm,
challenging you to step up to outside of your comfort zone to get to that next level. And I
yeah.
think that too is so important as business owners for us to look at our team, see where they are naturally gifted and skilled and
Mm,
talented, and either create opportunities for them to flourish in that space or make recommendations for them so that they can continue to hone those natural gifts and just be great doing them.
yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm such a big fan of empowering um,
Yeah.
staff or people around me. I love, and
Mhm.
again, I always believe in collaborations, not competition.
Yeah.
So working with others, because we all have our own strengths,
Yeah.
and trying to tease that out is so important and critical.
Yeah.
Especially as you say, as I'm leading teams now, I love seeing how I can really see how individuals can be their full selves.
Yeah.
So I love coaching. I love giving people the ability to think outside of, and sometimes stretch. I think you mentioned
Yeah.
about, that whole stretch and getting outside your
Mhm.
comfort zone. I was
Yeah.
fortunate to have leaders around me to say, Leonard, you can do more. And
Yeah.
I really appreciated that,
Yeah.
some managers sometimes see it as a threat. Others actually see it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And those managers who see opportunities or talents within others to give them opportunities are the best managers, right? Because
Absolutely.
I will always go back and thank those managers who have gone out their way to sort of push me.
Yes, absolutely. And Nia Robinson says to strive to outdo yourself, not others. So, and
Mm,
that's exactly what we were just talking about. Thank you, Nia, for your comment. Absolutely, 100%. When you
yeah.
strive to outdo yourself, then that's how you just continue to get better and get broaden that comfort zone. Because once
Mm,
you've done something, it's no longer a goal, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
you keep on stretching and getting
Mm,
better and
do.
better, kind of like a rubber band. You just keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it and stretching it, and then before you know it, it doesn't even go back to that little space anymore. You're like that little space is that's nothing because it has been stretched and able to handle so much more now because
Mm,
of those incremental stretchings, for lack of a better.
mm, definitely, definitely,
Yeah, and
definitely.
Lucille says that that's a healthy way to look at things.
Mm,
Yes, when you are your own competition, that is a
definitely.
healthy way of looking. Thank you, Lucille, for your comment. So as we continue on in the conversation, there was something that you mentioned though, as part of the pain was you're doing all the work, you're doing all the things, but you're not being compensated like everybody else. Is that what inspired you to step out of the corporate world and to start FinOps Squad?
Yeah, well, it was stages. So, if I look back, that was probably the start of my journey into what I was actually an employee. I went into freelancing as a result. So I started as a freelancer 2009. I set up my own business and I thought, okay, I was a bit smart. I realized there was something called day rates. And I thought, wow, these day rates seem handsome. Let me try it out. And I did. And fortunately enough, that allowed me to actually pivot. And I pivoted into working alone or semi-alone. I use agents. I started to build confidence, get more experiences, see more exposure, not only within the finance team, but also build a network of really solid individuals that I was able to sort of build good relationships. However, and this is where I got more frustrated along the way, because as I started to progress, either I would have lots of setbacks through recruitment consultants not following through on deals or opportunities that were placed in front of me. And I kept on seeing that, that sort of cycle come around sometimes. I also realized that in certain environments, I was getting bullied, so people were feeling threatened. And so I remember having some bad situations where people actually were targeting me and, sometimes wanting me to get fired and pushed out because I was a freelancer. So all of these things culminated into, okay, what do I do next? I've got my career ahead of me, but how do I start taking control of my career? And so it was in 2020, I was just finishing up at Mastercard and we went into lockdown, a lockdown period. And, I was with the family and I really enjoyed that time. I managed to sort of spend some good quality time, but it also gave me time to reflect and see what are my skill sets and how can I give back? So the first thing, or one of the things that I did during that period was, how can I give back to the community, to the small businesses? And, those that were struggling and didn't know what to do when things were all locked up. So I started to coach. I learned, I got some coaching badges underneath me. And I just started to do pro bono work to coach others and help people transform their minds, but also transform their businesses. And one of the individuals was successful, along that way, in terms of that individual was about to give up on her passion and her purpose. And I helped her to sort of stick with it. That she actually got onto something called Dragon's Den, which is similar to your Shark Tank in the US.
Yeah.
And she secured an investment with actually someone I think we all know, Stephen Bartlett. She got an investment from Stephen Bartlett.
Wow.
And she then went off and she's done quite well. So I realized actually I had something unique there. Now, alongside that, I start to realize, okay, when I get a role, how can I start doing things differently? So I managed to secure another contract, and then I got another one, and I got another one. So one could say I'm probably greedy, and I probably was, but but I had
you were your own competition.
hey, I was pushing myself.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I was working with 3 corporates, and they didn't know this, but I was on my desk like literally juggling all these roles. But I was beginning to burn out, and I thought, okay, let me be wise and let go of one. And I stopped with 2. But then I started to realize, how do I start transitioning from being a freelancer to a founder? And so again, I started to go through this process. So you push on a few more years, I had another bad experience with an agent who promised me something, it didn't come through. And it was at that point, I was like, enough. I was like, I'm done. Like I was like that. I'm done. And I was on a holiday and I was listening to a book called Think and Grow Rich.
One of my favorites.
I know, and that book is a dangerous book, I tell you. A dangerous book in a good way, in a good way.
I love
So I had started it, but I had never done it all the way through.
it.
And I stumbled across the app Audible, and I put it in my ears. And I kid you not, in 3 days it was done. Like I just was in, sort of just infatuated by the book. And
Love it.
I was like, okay, that's it. I need to find a mastermind. I need to find a mastermind. I need to put all these things in place. And that led me to actually go onto a mastermind and invest in myself, my own personal development in Dubai, at the end of 2023. And that was where I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna launch something called FinOps Squad. I'm going to start working on my my brand, my personal brand. And I realized I'm good in finance, I'm good in operations and strategy, and I love basketball. I love squad. I love the whole bringing people together. And that's how I devised and created my business. And that's how I got to FinOps Squad.
Wow, that is truly amazing. Now, tell me, when you went to Dubai, it was to be a part of a mastermind? And it was within that mastermind that you surrounded yourself with other like-minded people who were just as driven, just as goal-oriented, just as passionate about building something of their own. And because you were surrounded with people like that, it helped you to narrow and shape your business that you have today.
Correct.
Wow. So for the audience, the amazing audience that we have, who you surround yourself with matters.
100%.
Matters. 100%. When you surround yourself with other people who are just as driven or more, have just as great vision or more, they can then speak into you and encourage you and support you in what it is that you are trying to do, guide you and direct you, especially if they've already been there where you're trying to go. That's who you want to be surrounding yourself with. Those are the people that you want to hang out with. Those are the people that you want to speak life into you, not, those people who can't believe in you or don't believe in you or trying to tear you down or tell you your dreams are stupid or dumb and you will never be able to do it. Get those people out of your life. Well, if they're family, but I'm just saying, choose your friends wisely. How much time you spend with those negative Nellies. Okay.
Definitely.
So important. And so as you were building FinOps Squad, I know you said, you got to the point where you were like, enough is enough. I'm going to take control of my own life. I'm going to take control of my own destiny. I'm not going to be relying on these other people to make things happen for me because they are letting me down. And I know with 100% certainty, I will not let me down. So let me go and build this thing. Before I finish that, Muning Collectibles has a question. She didn't catch the title of the book. Is it Think and Grow Rich? She would love to read you. Yes, it is absolutely Think and Grow Rich. I believe it's by, is it Robert Kiyosaki?
No, Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. Robert Kiyosaki is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is another great book.
And I read that book straight afterwards.
Right. So what we put into our minds. So thank you, Muning Collectibles, for that question, because what we read, who we surround ourselves with, all of these things are so important in our own internal mindset. And especially if we need to make a shift, if we grew up, maybe we were poor and we were surrounded by people who had that poor mentality, poor inferiority type complex, and thought that they would never amount to anything, or were told that they would never amount to anything because of where they come from. Maybe they lived in the projects or lived on the streets or whatever. And there needs to be a mindset shift. If you want to accomplish something great, not only do you have to watch who you surround yourself with and what you allow into your ears, you also have to allow new information to come in to reframe how you think about different things, especially money, especially when it comes to building something. And building something isn't easy. Like if you think about building a building, it starts with the foundation, right? And sometimes that foundation has to go hundreds of feet into the ground in order to be ready for what comes out on top, right? So all of that underground work has to get done before you can truly successfully build something that is going to last.
And can I add to that, Renee?
Absolutely.
So exactly, I look at it like a seed. You know, you need when you're doing gardening, or if you want to plant a tree, you need to go down deep. You know, you need to really, layer the ground and do a lot of digging up the weeds. You know, you want to get the good soil, turn over the ground. And so you're absolutely right to sow the seed so that it can actually embed itself into the good soil. And it takes time. The seed isn't going to just produce fruit straight away. You still need to nurture the ground. You still need to water it. It still needs the sun. It needs light, etc. And that's the same with business. And so I really do believe, like you said, the mind is the fertile ground. You definitely need to make sure that you work on your mind, surround yourself with the right environment, the right people, but also listen to the right books, podcasts, all these sort of things have helped that growth. And I think you're talking about some of the principles as well. You're sort of alluding to principles. Because I shaped my mind, I started to sort of work on my time. How I manage my time is so important because, you can easily get distracted by things. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but time management has been really, really important, especially as I've gone into entrepreneurship and starting a business. So time, and then also something that, individuals neglect a lot is your health. Your body is your temple, man. You have to look after this, and so, what you put into it, how you look after your body is so important. Because like you said, running a business is not easy. There are going to be some challenging times. So you need to be your optimal in terms of how you think and how you take care of this temple, your body, as well. So these are sort of things that I've stepped into it. And actually on my mastermind, I had individuals within the group who specialized in all of these areas. And time management, the physical body, business, the mind, and it was fantastic because by doing that, it helped me with good foundations. Before I started out, I started to sort of look at my gaps and areas in which I could improve. And again, how can I get better? How can I get better? How can I get better? And so, just wanted to add to that, really.
Yes, that's so good. So good. And we're definitely going to dive into those in a little bit deeper detail as well. But I definitely want to recognize Nia Robinson's comments when we were talking about the people around you say everything about who you are. So when we think about if we're teenagers, who are we hanging around? Who do we want to be associated with? Do we want to be associated with the jocks who are all into the sports? Because however they are, that's typically how people are going to see you. Or do we want to be surrounded by the smart people who some people might call the nerds, who know everything? Or do we want to be surrounded by, the kids who take smoke breaks and skip class? You know what I mean? So there's all different groups that we could be surrounded with. And so we have, like Nia said, who we hang around tells the world who you are. So that's why it's so important that we surround ourselves with the right people. And then Jerome Hutchins Jr. says, also consider Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who was commissioned to write the book by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Thank you so much for that recommendation. Definitely adding that to my list, because there are so many factors that affect us that other people don't have to contend with, but we do. And so I'm so grateful to Dr. Kimbrough for taking that a step further so that we can know how to best apply it for our own lives and make the difference that we want to make and be the difference and the change that we want to see in the world. So thank you so much for that. And then Munin Collectibles also says, thanks, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is on my list too. Guess this is my sign to get back into reading. Yes, Munin Collectibles, this is your sign. If you need a sign, this is it. And Paul Wilson says, great discussion. Thanks for joining us, Paul. So, so grateful to all of our audience members who are contributing to this rich discussion about how important it is for us to protect what matters most, our time, the people that we surround ourselves with, and the profits in our business. I know you, let's talk about time a little bit. You said that there were some people that you surrounded yourself with who specialize in helping people make the most of their time, because time is one of those things you can't get back. And so as you're spending your day and you're doing a thing, is this thing the best way you should be spending your time doing this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we only have 24 hours in a day. And if you think about, everyone has that, so no one's at a disadvantage in terms of whether you're Beyonce or you're a school teacher. It doesn't matter. It's how you utilize that time, and it's down to yourself. And so as a business owner, one thing that I started to learn is making the most of my diary, make sure that I have certain tools, processes, and also just standards that I have in place to help me, really focus on my time, because time, as people say, is money. Where you put your energy towards, you're losing. You could be losing somewhere else. So time management helps you prioritize what you can, or what you should pick up and what you should let go. And by actually working on my time management, I've also learned, I used to be a yes man. I used to say yes to everything. Now, my yes is my no, actually. So I try and say no more. And that's not because I want to be hard. It's just because I need to just stay focused on my goals and my vision. And so it's a way to protect my time, protect my energy, and allow me to stay focused in what I do. So I've got different tools that I use. I've read a lot up about this as well. I've read some really good books. Actually, one of my books behind me is Buy Back Your Time. You can probably see it. Buy Back Your Time by a person called Dan Martell. Actually, he's been one of my coaches, and he's fantastic. Not plugging him, but he's really good at how do you leverage support and build a team to help you do more as well, and prioritize sort of what you work on and what you don't need to work on.
Right. Oh, I love that. And with, buying back your time is exactly what my company allows people to do. Shameless plug for Executive Help Now. But totally agree. Could not agree more. That is so important. And when you are protecting your time and you're going and you're saying no more often, if it's not consistent with where you're trying to go, then yeah, it's a no. So, and it could be a no for now. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a no, maybe it's a yes later, but it's a no for now because it's not consistent with what I'm trying to get done. And so one of the things that we encourage our clients to do even is when you are building out your calendar and you're protecting that time, add in time for reading, time for continuing education, time for continuing your own personal growth. because just as important as networking meetings are and business development and staff meetings and all the things for building the business, those are just as important. Your personal and professional development is just as important as well. And you need to protect that time as well, because that's how you get better, especially if you do it in a group of other people who are on the same path or a part of that mastermind or a part of a group trying to accomplish something. If you guys are doing something together, protect that time and make sure it happens so you're all growing together. I love that. And then Jerome Hutchison Jr. also says to surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher. Again, just like we were talking about, protecting that time with the people who are going to lift you higher. Absolutely. And then one of his favorite books recommendations is The Richest Man Who Ever Lived by Stephen Scott, multimillionaire marketing entrepreneur. It's about success and building wealth from wisdom. The book pulls from the wisdom of Solomon and the book of Proverbs, The Richest Man Who Ever Lived. I think I've heard of that book as well, but it was, there's several books by Og Mandino. And that sounds like one of those. So it was really, really fantastic. And I did read that one as well. And as we're talking about these books, it's like bringing back, dang, I guess I do read some. I read a little bit. It's so important. It is so important.
It is. And Renee, you made a real good point about protecting your personal development time.
Yes.
I think it's so important. That personal development time is a reading time, right? And also going to the gym and being active, protect those times. Like it's really, really important, that whole balance. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so important to be balanced. And I keep saying, so one of my biggest prayers is to want to go to the gym. Like that's my it's like I want to, Because I just don't want to, even though I know I need to. But it's so true. And I know that once you develop the habit, it feels good. After every workout, you got all your endorphins and you're feeling like $1 million. And I know all of this in my head, but it's like, I don't want to. I'm the worst. I'm the absolute worst. But you are saying nothing but facts, straight facts. You have to protect that time. Get in the habit, and I'm speaking to myself. Get in the habit of doing something healthy for yourself and stay healthy. Be consistent. That too is where your schedule comes in, and live by your schedule. If it's not on your schedule, typically it doesn't happen. So it's super important to have a schedule that works for you, that has good work-life balance, that will help you stay focused on the things that are important and help you to know what to say no to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Leonard, you're called often the Chief Value Officer. Yes. What does that title mean to you, and how does it influence your leadership approach?
No, yeah, great question. I think how I got to it was actually I started to angel invest in companies, startup companies. And I invested in a startup, a Black-owned fintech business in the UK. And I helped the whole financial modeling, my usual, go-to, that's what I do, finance. So I did the financial modeling, the benchmarking, the pitch decks, sought investment, secured investment. I realized it was much more than just the finance. I realized actually I'm good at relationship management, business development, people. So I started to just help where I could in different aspects of the business. So I went outside of, I guess, the remit of a CFO. And I started to step into that space as the CRO and the COO, you could say. And so I found myself trying to add as much value as possible. I actually felt like if I'm going to be his number 2 as his CFO, I need to just be his business partner. I need to just see myself and empathize with him and see where he's got gaps. Let me fill them as best as I can. Now, I'm not saying that I can do everything, but all I try and do is just leverage the strengths that I've developed over time within my career. And so I don't know how it came about it. I think we were talking about C-suite roles, and he was writing it down on the org chart, and he was like, "Oh, Leonard, you're a CFO, or you're a bit of a COO, and you're a bit." I'm like, "What am I?" And so we came up with that phrase, Chief Value Officer.
I love it.
That's how we got to it.
Wow. Well, and absolutely, all of those things definitely add value. They truly, truly are. You can't run a business successfully without all of those things. So it is so true. And David also says that this is such a wholesome, insightful, and inspiring conversation. Thank you so much, David. Appreciate your comments. And Tiana says, love this convo and all these book recommendations. Keep them coming. Yes, Tiana, me too. I am learning so much. And I'm a huge fan of Audible. The audiobooks really work well for me, podcasts as well. Just because it's easy to listen to them while you're, cooking dinner or, cleaning the house, doing laundry, whatever. But you can get so much done, through the audiobooks in addition to, the pages as well, if you just want to relax. But yes, it is so important. Love, love, love all these book recommendations. And Tiana, I'm with you. And I can't wait to get back to mine. I have a couple in my library. One that I just finished is called "You're a Badass at Making Money" by Jen Sicario. And man, I'm telling you, it was truly fantastic and just helped so much with that whole mindset shift, and that is sometimes necessary when you come from nothing and you're building something great and it's becoming something great, and how to manage that whole life shift type of thing. So anyways, truly fantastic. I highly recommend book as well. So I cannot believe, Leonard, can you believe we are almost out of time?
It feels like we just started.
I know, right? There's so much more I want to know about you and how you protect your time and how you protect your profits. Maybe we can move into that just a little bit, because all of us here typically in the audience are business owners, and we want to know, how do we protect the profits? What are some things that we can do to protect the profits?
Well, shameless plug, that's what I do in terms of FinOps Squad.
That's right.
So there's many different things. And so part of what my role is as a fractional CFO is all about sort of securing profits and sort of building the right systems, processes, and structures around your business. So it's always important that actually you understand sort of what you need to give away, because there's going to be some parts of your business that you need to sort of park and put away, and some people forget that. So the tax man is real, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, pretty much he's going to be knocking. So you need to sort of plan for all the different parts of your business. And how you do that is, I often do that with systems, getting the right systems in place so that you have the right order and control and clarity around your finances. So I use various systems. I'm not going to plug any one specific system, but I try and embed that as soon as possible, because by doing that, you can start sort of accounting for different things within your business. By them doing that, you then start creating reporting mechanisms. You start planning as well, because there's no need just running ahead if you don't have a clear plan or strategy ahead. So it's really important to create plans, budgets, forecasts, and different aspects. And again, like you should bring in people who have specific expertise that can actually help in these spaces. If you need help, call out for it. You don't need to do it all. And
Right.
hence why, a CFO, that's what I do. I come in with that expertise because I've done it many times over for large businesses all the way down to the smallest businesses that are just getting going. So I understand how to do the budgets, the forecasts, and then you want to start tracking against them. How am I performing against that roadmap? I used to sort of use the terminology of like driving a car. You want to have the dials in place to know how quickly you're going and how slow you need to be within certain zones. And
Right.
so, if you have the tools, and I call those KPIs, or the dials, those are KPIs, they will be able to give you the gauging parts of how your business is performing, both in terms of not only financial, but non-financial mechanisms. So you want to understand your customers, you want to understand your pricing strategy, you want to understand all the various components of your business to know sort of how it's performing, because
Right.
ultimately they feed into your profits. Because when you have the right components, reports, you can then start tracking to see if am I profitable or am I not, and if I'm not, what actions do I need to take to get myself back on track. So that's sort of quite high level in terms of what I do, but I love it. I love it because I know that actually everyone wants to make a profit.
Wow.
Everybody wants to succeed.
Yes.
Around that, you also need fuel. So sometimes what I call the fuel is the injection of cash, which is the investments or credit lines that might be available to you from different institutions or investors. So again, I help with that whole fuel injection. If you want to try and get fast, let's try it. Let's try and get that jet fuel into the business, and then let's take off.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So this is all so good, and I love the analogy that you're tying it into, the gauges and the KPIs that you need to have to make sure that you're on track of where, if you've set a goal of getting a certain place by a certain time, then you know that you need to go certain number of miles per hour to get there by that time. And those gauges help you to know whether or not you are on track or whether you are not. And so I love how you created that analogy, because it makes sense. But my question is, so we know that these things are important. How often would you recommend a business owner, founder, meet with their finance person about their numbers?
Yeah. So again, it depends on the size of the business, but I tend to say at least once a month.
Mm.
And again, it depends on how quickly you need to go. So I always say, like this car analogy, your CFO should be your passenger up front, and you as the owner are the one who's driving. So you want your CFO to be in your passenger side as much as you can, because hopefully they're going to be helping you see the road bumps ahead, some of the headwinds that might be coming while you're busy sort of operating the car. So I don't know if anyone knows rally driving, but rally driving is kind of crazy, crazy sport, right? Because they're going really, really fast, and you got the guy on his side guiding, saying left, left, right, right, right.
Yeah.
But, the CFO should be the person helping you navigate and guide and steer your car as you speed ahead as the CEO to sort of get to your end destination. But again, it's obviously resources, and sometimes resources are limited. So you might not be able to always have a CFO available. And that's why I actually call myself a fractional CFO, because it means that I might be with you or could be in your business maybe one day a week, maybe one day a month. But whatever works for you, we can work something out. So definitely, if you're a big company, you might want that CFO with you all the time. And hence why the bigger companies tend to have a CFO and a finance team in place all the time, because they can afford one. But as you start out there, I do believe you definitely should have a CFO in place or a finance director, because sometimes an accountant doesn't cut it. Sometimes you'll have an accountant and he's only there to fulfill the compliance side of things, to file your taxes at the end of the year, when it's probably too late. That's when you might be having issues with your cash flow, or you're having issues with your profit margins, and things are beginning to sort of get a bit shaky.
Right.
So the whole rationale behind why I set up FinOps Squad is that I've seen successful businesses run well. And one of the reasons why they do is because they have a finance function. And I've been operating at the highest level, creating finance functions, delivering big results for big players. And I realized actually it's the SME, it's the mid-sized businesses that actually need that help probably the most. And
Right.
so hence why I've pivoted, and I realized actually my passion is for smaller, medium-sized businesses. I see there's a gap. That's where I can come in, and that's the impact I can make.
Right. I love that. I absolutely love that. I would love to continue this conversation. I know you have a hard stop. We have a hard stop. I want our audience to know how to stay in touch with you and how to continue this conversation. Maybe just tap you, on the shoulder for maybe it's a counseling guidance suggestion. How do people find you?
Yeah, the best way to find me, I've done it, is LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn profile. I've got my website as well. So my website is www.finops-squad.com. You can find me on my website, but you can also find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm a very active user on LinkedIn. So basically it's LinkedIn, and look me up, Leonard Fom, and you should be able to get to me. I share quite a lot of tips and insights around finances and also business and leadership and self-development. So you can definitely get me there. And then also on Instagram. So it's at Leonard-Fom, and you can find me on Instagram as well.
Excellent. So FinOps-Squad.com is the website. You're on LinkedIn also at Leonard_Fom, and then also on Instagram at Leonard_Fom as well. So these are great. This is great information for us to have, because we definitely want to continue this conversation, because we can't do this alone. If we're going to grow and we're going to scale to that next level, we have to have subject matter experts, fractional CFOs, people in our who've got our back, to make sure we're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's to get to that next level. So I'm so grateful to you, Leonard, for your time today and sharing your expertise, sharing with us the secret sauce, basically, of being a successful business owner, and making sure that we do all the things that we're supposed to be doing, including balancing, our health and our time and our money and all of the different things that we talked about today, and the importance of making sure that we're surrounding ourselves with the right people, and making the right decisions, and not just saying yes to everything, but saying no strategically if it's not consistent with where you're trying to go. So as we wrap up, Leonard, if nobody remembers a single thing today, what do you want them to remember about scaling successfully without losing what matters most?
Yeah, I definitely, it's my motto. And so I would say work smart. And when I say work smart, leverage and bring in the experts that can help you, or coaches. So work smart, have fun. The journey. You want to sort of make sure that you surround yourself with like-minded people, and you also enjoy the journey as you go. Celebrate your successes, and then make an impact. Make an impact wherever you go. Let people go away thinking, thank you for bringing value, because people talk. People talk when you do good things. People talk, and your name starts spreading. So I would say those three things.
I love that. Leonard, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.
Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate the time. Thank you.